Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with a train moving across a desolate landscape. Inside the train, Virgil, a rough-looking man, is seated and munching some bread. A strange woman in front of him is staring at him, attempting to calm her infant. After a while, the train comes to a stop, and Virgil exits, but not before handing the woman his bread. He then walks to a local shop, and asks the owner if he has seen anyone around, but the owner continues to watch TV without responding. Later, when Virgil inquires about the restroom, the proprietor advises him in a different language. After some time, he arrives at the bathroom, which is filthy and infested with flies. Regardless, Virgil feels forced to use it to relieve stomach pain. While inside, a masculine voice asks if he is waiting for someone to accompany him to the compound. After hearing this, Virgil says yes, and the stranger walks away. Next, as Virgil is washing his face, a guy arrives and warns him not to waste any water. Virgil is with Keith, a truck driver who is driving him to the facility. They talk about his price for taking him to the property, and Virgil is astonished to see an extra charge to the fee, as he thought it was only $200. Feeling the intense heat, Virgil tries to turn on the AC in the truck, but Keith scolds him, informing him that it will put strain on the engine and ruin it. After a short distance, the truck's tire blows out, forcing them to pull over and change the tire. While they're at it, they come across two wild dogs fighting. When Keith notices this, he chases the healthy dog, and frees the injured one in a painless death. They quickly repair the tire and return to the road. Later, they stop to refuel their vehicles, but because it is already late, they decide to rest for the day and continue their adventure the next day. As they spend time together at night, Keith questions Virgil about his motivation for going to the compound. He responds that he is looking for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and is confident that he will find it there. Since Keith visits the compound on a regular basis, he tries to persuade him that the compound is not a better place for opportunities, and mentions that hard labor is the only thing he can find there. Virgil, on the other hand, responds that he is not scared of hard labor. Virgil is driving the truck the next morning, while Keith sits in the passenger seat. After a while, Virgil becomes overheated due to the blistering sun outside, and chooses to turn on the AC to its maximum capacity, which causes the truck's engine to shut down. When Keith discovers it, he yells at him to pull over. He apologizes and proceeds to relieve himself. On his walk back to the truck, he observes some rock clusters. He approaches them, curious, and removes dirt from one of the pebbles. The rock appears to be made of gold, which surprises him. He summons Keith and requests that he examine the rocks. Keith enters and pulls out his lighter, informing that if it burns and goes black, it's not gold, but when he flames on a section of the stone, it doesn't change color, and he determines that it is indeed gold. The duo start digging the gold out of the earth with shovels, but the rock is so massive and firmly planted, that they are unable to move it even an inch, despite their best efforts. They then decide to drag the gold using a rope attached to the truck. However, the rock refuses to budge, and the rope comes undone. Later that evening, when Keith goes in search of some firewood for the night, he informs Virgil that wild dogs are prevalent in the area, and can only be driven away with fire. Listening to this, Virgil joins him, and they return with a lot of firewood. They light the fire and sit around, discussing the riches they've just discovered. Keith becomes ecstatic thinking about how their lives will soon change. He screams and bounces in delight. After a while, he explains that since they can't get the gold out, one of them will have to go to town, and hire an excavator to dig it out. He also indicates that he has some contacts who can lend them an excavator, and he proposes that Virgil travel to town. This is because Virgil is inexperienced with the abandoned environment, and has no knowledge of how to adapt to it for an extended period of time. Nonetheless, Virgil believes otherwise. He advises Keith to bring an excavator, while he waits and protects the gold. He also claims to know nothing about the new town and lacks sufficient contacts. Hearing this, Keith asks him one last time if this is his final decision, to which Virgil replies positively. He responds that he is a tough guy who can handle the situation easily. Keith departs the location the next morning, giving Virgil canned goods, water, and a tiny tent cloth. He also gives Virgil a satellite phone for communication, and a pocket knife for defense. He then notes that it might take him 5 days to return with an excavator, encouraging Virgil to keep his head up and take care of himself. Later, Virgil picks up the tent cloth and ties it around a nearby tree, creating a shelter-like environment for himself. He also takes out the satellite phone and checks if it's working. After that, he goes to scavenge firewood around the area. When he returns after collecting some wood for the night, he discovers a scorpion in his hiding hole. He chases it away with a piece of wood. As night falls, he is sitting by the fire, warming his tinned meal. He enjoys his meal, but becomes concerned when he hears the wild dogs arguing nearby. As a result, he holds his pocket knife. He wakes up pallid and exhausted the next morning, and rushes to empty his stomach, but hesitates to waste any water on cleaning himself up. Meanwhile, the satellite phone calls, and before he can answer it, it cuts short. He travels around the region, frustrated, and discovers the wreckage of a jet. He decides to use it as a refuge, but because the gold spot cannot be seen from there, he abandons the plan. He does however remove some plane components to use as a shelter. Soon after, an exhausted Virgil falls asleep, and when he wakes up, he discovers that a portion of his face has been scorched by the sun. He sits next to the gold and begins to chat with himself. While doing so, he has the bright notion of attempting to break a lump of gold. He succeeds in cracking a little but heavy lump of gold, after repeatedly striking it with a rock. Keith calls him on the satellite phone, and he quickly takes it up. Keith informs him that it will take longer than expected, because his truck's engine frequently overheats. Virgil tells him that he successfully cracked a little bit of gold, but Keith advises him to sit near it only. Virgil sits close to the gold at night, as some wild dogs approach him. He uses the firewood to scare away the dogs and save himself. The next morning, he sips some water from a bottle. Suddenly, he spots a striped snake coming. He attempts to kill the snake, but it flees. When he turns around, he discovers that he has accidentally tipped over the bottle, spilling most of the water. Later, he returns to the plane crash site in an attempt to salvage more wreckage for his shelter. Right then, he notices someone approaching him. He boards the plane and attempts to conceal himself. After some time, the stranger approaches the plane, and requests that he come out of his hiding location. The visitor turns out to be a woman, who offers him food and drink, but he refuses to accept them. She also queries him about his motivations, and how he wound up there in the desert, but he remains silent and dismisses her inquiries. Later, he gives the woman refuge in the plane, and begins to fly away. The woman suspects that he is hiding something from her. She chases him and questions him about how he got there in the first place. Irritated by the questions, he confronts her and tells her she must leave, and not interfere in his affairs. The woman notices his shelter, and begins walking towards it, where she attempts to destroy it and asks him to leave. He becomes enraged and strikes her with the shovel, killing her instantly. He then takes everything useful from her backpack, and buries her nearby. Shortly after, the dogs dig up the dead body and start pulling it. He spots it and chases the dogs away. He then carries the woman's body a short distance, and burns it with some firewood. His eyes are welling up with tears as he does so. He wakes up the next morning to the sound of the satellite phone, and answers it. Keith informs him that he has found the excavator, but will need some extra time to get there, because the excavator's load is slowing him down. Keith tells him to be strong, and hangs up the phone. Virgil notices a truck passing by, but his desire for more gold prevents him from fleeing. He senses a sandstorm approaching, while looking for firewood for the night. He flees towards the shelter, hoping to be safe, but the storm quickly rips apart pieces of his shelter, forcing him to flee for his life. On his journey, he gets severely injured by a falling tree branch. The storm eventually passes, and he awakens in a heap of sand, with a piece of branch stuck in his stomach. He rushes for the gold spot instead of pulling out, and comes across the large gold rock, and faints inside it. Next, he rips the branch from his stomach, and bleeds heavily. Then he starts a fire and heats a can in it, and screams while he disinfects the wound with the hot can, and collapses. He awakens to find a woman pointing a crossbow at him. As a result, he begins to get images of the previous woman he had killed. The woman gives him some water to sip, before leaving. When he opens his eyes again, he finds no trace of the woman, and concludes that he is hallucinating. Meanwhile, the satellite phone rings, prompting him to dig it out of the sand. Virgil tells Keith about the woman, and Keith advises him to get rid of her. A little later, the woman reappears in front of him, and offers him assistance, but a greedy Virgil, who is more concerned about the gold, yells at her to go away. Before departing, the woman asks if he has seen her sister, but he does not respond. When he opens his eyes again, he is surrounded by burnt-out fires and wild dogs. He quickly contacts Keith, and asks where he is, to which Keith responds that he is close by, and will arrive soon. Virgil begs him to hurry, because the wild dogs are attempting to attack him. Keith is actually seated a distance away from Virgil, keeping a watch on him using binoculars. He waits and observes, until the dogs attack and pull Virgil away. After a while, Virgil can be seen getting devoured by the hounds, while still staring at the gold. Keith arrives shortly after, with his vehicle hitched to an excavator. He returns to his truck, trying to pick up something, while looking down at Virgil's body. As he turns around, an arrow pierces his chest. He collapses, trying to figure out who shot him, but sees no one. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.